Hello and welcome to this instructional video on using my books Google Sheets like a spreadsheet. I think this is my third time attempting to make this. Hopefully it works smoothly this time. So I thought I'd start by showing you what this will eventually look like once you've got all your data in here. And it does take a little bit of setting up first time, but after that it should be really easy. This spreadsheet is designed to run alongside Goodreads. So you do all your updating in Goodreads, marking books that you've read and rating them and putting things down that you want to read, etc. This spreadsheet just allows you to get a bit more insight and allows you to add a bit more detail. We'll go through all of the features as we work our way through adding in your own data, but just a quick scroll there to give you an idea. So what you need to do is go to the books template. Should be a link under this video wherever I'm posting it. Now, if you go into the data worksheet, you'll see at the moment there's kind of nothing. What we need to do is add in all of the Goodreads IDs. At the moment there's just one from an old book, so let's delete that for now. Now to put in the Goodreads IDs, what you need to do is go to your Goodreads My Books and find the import and export page. So if I click on that now, and you need to click on Export Library. You'll see I've previously made some exports. So if we click that, as it says, it may take a moment, particularly if you have a lot of books. I've got about 400 listed, so it will take maybe 10-20 seconds, something like that. Once this has been exported, we'll get a Microsoft Excel file, and we're going to copy that data into our Google Sheets. Here we go. So if you click and open that file, frustratingly, the key bit of information here is these Goodreads IDs, the book ID. Now, unless you resize this column, when you copy them, it doesn't give you all the detail, it gives you a rounded value. So what we need to do to all of these columns is highlight them and then resize them. So if we double click between A and B there, and now you'll see that we've got all the IDs in their entirety. So if you then select all the data, so here I'm going to do Control Shift right, and then Control Shift down, and then Control C. So I've got it all ready and copied. We go back to the book's template. Now at the moment you won't actually be able to edit this one. What you need to do is go make a copy. We could do that now maybe just to show you. So we go, I'm going to call it books. I think I've done a few copies of this already. Let's call it books 4. And notice we do need the scripts file and functionality to also be copied. So we click make a copy. It'll take a few moments. Here we go, loading up. This warning, some formulas we will need to allow access to. So we click allow access. Just going to check that the scripts have come through. So if we go to apps script, we should see some code, which we've got. Lovely. Close that again. So we have the data from Microsoft Excel still ready and copied. We go to import and just do Control V to paste it. This might take a moment because quite a bit of data coming in. Here we go. And the spreadsheet's going to be doing a few things in the background now. First of all, it's taking the names and titles and putting them into nice formats. It's checking whether we've already listed these books, and it's starting to do some other bits and pieces in the background. Notice that they've all gone red. This is because at the moment we haven't put any of these into our data, which is the first thing we're going to do. Once it's loaded, it's still doing a couple of bits and pieces, I think. Looks like it might be done. So if we click into A2, then I'm going to go Control, Shift and down to highlight all of these. I call them Goodreads IDs. It's the book ID from Goodreads. So again, we do a Control C to copy those, and we go to data. And these are going to go into the Goodreads ID column T. So I click into that first cell. Now I want to copy these just as values to not lose any formatting that's already on this page. You can do that as Control Shift V. I'm going to show you and click this. Now we'll need to give this a few moments because again, lots of things are going on in the background here to try and make your life easier is the idea. So you'll notice some of the names starting to come through. You'll notice some pictures potentially starting to come through. And it should also give us our column borders. We might need to wait 20-30 seconds though. I may end up deciding to speed up this bit of the video depending on how long it takes. Let's have a little scroll. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah, some pictures coming through, nice. It's one of the things I noticed when looking at existing spreadsheets that other people have put online for this. A lot of them require you to go and find these thumbnails yourself. I thought I'd try and do something that pulls them through automatically as much as possible to save you time, because I think they're one of the best things about the spreadsheet, that you can see all the little thumbnails. Right, we're still loading some bits and pieces. Give it a little bit longer. Looks like all of the names are coming through fine. Looks like it's telling us whether I've read them or not. We still haven't got borders yet. This is mainly because it's the first time we're putting in all of this data. It should always be a lot quicker after this. Oh, here we go, some more images coming through, top one's coming through. So we can probably start doing some bits and pieces here, on at least the first few books. So the first thing I think that's most sensible to do is to get all of the thumbnails that we like for each book. Now, to speed up this spreadsheet, I've created these tick boxes. Now, the idea is that once you decide on an image and commit that data, the image doesn't need to keep loading in the background. It sort of saves it, if you like. So there's 3 ways that this spreadsheet finds the images. It could do it from the Goodreads ID, it can do it from the book's ISBN, or you can manually do it, because sometimes my formulas unfortunately just won't find a thumbnail. They're searching an open source public library, but it can be hard to pick up the thumbnails for every single book. However, these first few look fine. So it's found a thumbnail using kind of the second method. So I'm going to give that one a tick. Yes, we'll use that one. Once the number loads in the save ID, if I then commit the data, the picture you notice will disappear. That means it doesn't need to load anymore. And if we scroll across, the names and books are now there. If you go down one, you notice that these are using formulas. Now they're just using names. That means it will load quicker. So once you've gone through all of your books in this manner, the whole spreadsheet will start to load a lot quicker every time you do it. So we can do the same thing for the next one. So I like that image, that's fine. Wait for it to load through here. And then commit the data. This one I've got a bit of a choice. I'm going to go with, I don't know, the first one. Loaded. Commit data. As you can imagine, this will take a little bit of time to go through the very first go, but you only need to do it once. Here's a good one where I don't particularly like that image. It's not a very fun image, is it? And it's not the one that I know from this book, Battlefield Earth, a saga of the year 3000. So what we can do is go to Goodreads and find it. So Battlefield Earth. So there's the book. If I load it up. On the image you see here, if you right click and go copy image link, come back to your books. And what we can do is put that into the manual URL. So if you click into the editor bit, paste in the link and press enter, then it will load through here. And I go, oh yes, I like that one. So I tick that one. Once it's loaded here, we commit data. So you can still choose your own images if you want, if the ones that load up aren't perfect for you. I still don't have borders. It looks like possibly that script hasn't been consistent. It's the least consistent script that runs, but it's also the easiest one to edit yourself. So if you just highlight all of the rows and columns and give them a border, it's a little bit nicer to look at, I think. Sometimes that will work, but apparently it hasn't today. Let's do a couple more. So we've got the Society of Unknowable Objects, a book I'm looking forward to reading. Commit. Lightbringer. Got a nice image. Wait for it to load. Commit. The Invisible Library. Haven't read this one yet. I think I slightly prefer this one on the right. Wait for it to load. And commit. And so on and so forth. Let's assume that you spend 20 minutes, half an hour, however long, going through all of your books and you've ticked them all. So now on this left-hand side, you've got all of your authors and you've got all of your images beautifully loaded through. What should you do next? Well, I think the next thing to do would be to look at the dates. So if you scroll right across, we've got dates here, and actually we can start to minimize some of these. So now we've dealt with all the images, I'm going to minimize that one. And now we've copied in all our Goodreads IDs, I'm going to minimize that one. So we've got a little bit less information to look at. We could start to minimize these as well, I suppose, now, just for now, until we actually need them. So kind of hidden everything apart from dates. So Goodreads loads through the dates you have read a book, but it doesn't load through, for unknowable reasons to me, the date that you started reading the book. And that's useful information because on your dashboard, if you want it to load through your shortest and longest book, and how quickly you read them, etc., you're going to need that data. This is okay, it just takes a bit of time. So what you can do is go back to your My Books in Goodreads. You can sort it by date read. You can see I've already got mine. And you just need to put in these dates. You can also find them on the app. I'm just going to go to the app on my phone and see if these look right to me. So I'm loading up My Books on the app, and I'm going to the ones I've read. And it tells me that I started reading We Solve Murders on the 15th of November. So actually that's not on this page. I've only got date read and date added, which isn't the same as the date I started reading it. So you might have to go to the app for this information. So on the app, it says I started reading the 15th of November 2025. So We Solve Murders, 15th of November 2025. Eruption, I haven't finished reading yet. The Book of Doors, I started reading on the 8th of November 2025. This one I haven't read yet. This one I haven't read yet. This one I haven't finished reading yet. So I'll just leave it for that for now. But the idea is to go through, and you could filter actually. If we filter just the ones that you've read, that would be sensible, wouldn't it? So you can clear that, clear, clear, click yes, and then it should be easy to fill through the dates. So the Secret of Secrets, yeah, that's the next one I've got on the app. So that's the started on the 2nd. This Inevitable Ruin, I started on the 26th of October 2025, and so on and so forth. Okay, let's clear that filter again now. So select all. Okay. So we've dealt with the thumbnails. You can then go through and deal with all the dates. The next thing I would suggest dealing with is whether it's part of a series or not. So for example, the We Solve Murders books, I think, is going to be a series. So we might say this is We Solve Murders 1. The Book of Doors is hard to say. I think that is linked to this one below, but I'm going to leave it as a series for now. This one I know is part of a series, and this is the Resizing series, book 6, I think it is. This just makes it a little bit easier for you to find books and their partner books in a series. Once you've gone through all of those, I was just sorting out the rank and genre. So I think this is in this first one here. Yes, rank and genre. Now by rank, I mean how badly do you want to read it next? So this only really makes sense, to be honest, to do to the books that you haven't read yet. So what you could do here is clear and say, I'm just going to do this for books that I haven't read. So I haven't read Battlefield Earth yet. What rank do I want to put it as? I'm going to go medium. I haven't read this one yet. That's very high. I read the first one, loved it. Going to want to read that one. This one, medium. This one, medium. This one maybe low. This one maybe high, etc. That's going to be really useful later on. Genre. This can take a bit of popping over to Goodreads to have a look at their genres, depending on how well you know the book. Now, you can also edit these, by the way. So this looks like it's probably a fantasy or a sci-fi book to me. Maybe it's even a classic sci-fi book. I think it's quite old. This one is probably a fantasy book. Now, I've put in some genres just from my own choosing. Obviously, these might not suit you. So what you can do, if you don't like those genres, if you need more genres, if you want to edit those genres, is go to Options. And you'll see all the genres here. You can change these, you can add more. The only thing that I suggest that you do not change is the all at the top. That's quite important for some of the filters that you're going to have later. So you can edit all of these, but leave the all at the top. So genres, I'm talking about here. Ranks, you could add more ranks or less ranks. Format we'll get to in a second, year we'll get to in a second, but you'll see they're there now. There's also a list of all books, but you won't need to change that or edit that. That's for other bits and pieces of the spreadsheet in the background. So let's assume you've gone through all of the books and ranked them. You've gone through all of the books and decided on genres. Next, you could put in whether you own the book or not. So let's select all again. Well, I do own this book. I own it as a paperback. I do own this book. I own it as a paperback. I do own this book. I own it as a paperback. So you can go through and say whether you own them or not, whether you own it in hardback, whether you own it as an audiobook. If you don't own it, just leave it blank. Again, that'll take you a few minutes to get through, but it's lovely information. So you can start building up a list of how many books you actually own and in what formats. And we've now covered most things, I think, so let's hide that again. In here, you'll see the Goodreads rating and your own rating. So these automatically pull through. So anything that you've rated in Goodreads will come up in column L, and you get the global rating from Goodreads in column K. Obviously, that will only be from your last download. The Goodreads rating will always be changing a bit as more and more people put in their ratings for a book. It will only be accurate to your last download. So I think that's mainly it. The last thing is here. So I use these columns to help me work out what books to buy. So you see I've got Libby AB for audiobook, Libby ebook, Borrow Box, B-Box, audiobook, and Audible. Although I might make that column slightly larger so the E actually loads. There we go. Now the idea is that I like to read everything as cheaply as I possibly can. So if something is on Libby for free, then I might not buy it, for example. So what you could do is say, yes, this is on Libby audiobook. Yes, it's also on Libby as an ebook. It's not on BorrowBox. It is on Audible. So for all of your books, what you can do is spend some time going through Libby, Audible, BorrowBox, any other outlets that you want, and list whether they are there or not. This is really helpful when we come to look at the to be read worksheet, and you can start filtering on these. So I can, for example, say to myself, if I want to know what books to literally buy next, let's filter out all of the books I can get for free on Libby or on BorrowBox. Equally, you could ignore them, leave them blank. You could change them to something else if you don't use Libby. And if you don't use Libby, why aren't you using Libby? But never mind. Pages already loads through, you can see there. Published year loads through, you can already see here. You could also start putting in prices. So for any books that you've bought, you could catalogue how much you paid for it. That's nice information to add in, and where you bought it from. At this point, I think, assuming you've been following along and pausing the video and putting in all your information, or you're coming back to it now having put in all your information, I think we're ready to show what this can do. So I'm going to go to the here's one I made earlier. So I go to this spreadsheet and show you the data. Here's all of my books with kind of everything in them. So you'll see all my pictures have been done. I've committed all of my data. And if we went into the ranks and genres, I've kind of put everything in. Goodreads ratings are obviously all there, all pulled through. You'll see I've gone through and added in some bits and pieces on Libby and BorrowBox and Audible. Let's hide that, we don't need that. And I've put in lots of dates as well. So everything's kind of in here ready to go. I've even put in prices and whether I got them from. So here you go, I bought that one for £2.71 from Awesome Books. We got anything else? Nothing, got it for free from Kindle. This one was a gift, so paid nothing. 50p from a charity shop. So what can we do now all of our information is in there? Well, now you can just live by these few bits and pieces. If I go to the dashboard, all of this should now be loading through. You can see what you're currently reading. You can see how many books you've read per year, so you can change this. Now I've put in 2025, 2024, 2023 because I didn't use Goodreads until kind of 2023. If you've been using Goodreads for years and years and years, what you can do is go back to your options and add in more of those years. But at the very bottom, again, if you put in pre, whatever that last year is, that's then kind of a bit of a catch-all. So, for example, when I first started using Goodreads, I wanted to log a lot of the books that I have read in the past, like when I was a kid. And so I just put them all in as various random years where I wasn't really sure. I said, oh, I read that when I was about 10, maybe. I read that when I was about 5, maybe. So it's not very accurate. So to catch all of those, I just put in this blanket pre-2023. And that will pick up all books that I've tagged as being read before then. So there's loads of information which hopefully you'll enjoy having a look through. You can see how much I've spent. You can see what I've read through different genres through the years. So pre-2023, you can see I was pretty big on fantasy, and fantasy is still pretty big. You can see it through the months. Unfortunately, to make this kind of beautiful, there might be a few months where you've read a few more, but it will only load a maximum of 6. If we go over here, you can see all of the books that you've read this year, so you can kind of copy and make these into lovely screenshots for social media, perhaps. And you can see genres. There is this blank one. That's because some of the books I haven't yet tagged with a genre. Once they're all tagged, that will be a nice complete pie chart. So this is lovely for social media posts, I think, and just for added information. Let's have a look at some other things. So we've got the to be read. So this is where, as I said, you can use some filters. So if I'm thinking, what book do I want to read next? Well, what I can do is say, let's go by ones that I've ranked as very high. Genre. Maybe I'm not too worried about the genre yet. Do I own it? Maybe, yeah. I'll leave that as paperback for now. Is it Libby? Let's say no. Let's say no, it's not on there as well. Let's say no, it's not on there as well. So that's tracked it down nicely to just to 3 books that I can go, do I want to read this one, this one, and this one? Then I go, oh, I can't remember what that book is. So what you can do is search on here. So say I wanted to know what the cuckoo's egg is all about. So you can start kind of typing it in, click it, and it should, for most books, load through a little blurb. Here you go. In the days when the presence of a computer did not presume the presence of a network, etc., etc., etc. So really helpful little thing here. If you put in all again, then you get all books. And that's why that all needs to still be there on the options. See that all the books that I've tagged as currently not read. See, I've got loads of reading to do, but that's always brilliant, isn't it? Next, let's have a look at the read. So these are books that I have read. So I've read 66 paperbacks, 21 hardbacks, 16 ebooks, and 34 audiobooks. You can toggle these ticks so it only shows the ones you want, but it's also color coded as well. So I can see that the paperbacks are kind of light blue, hardbacks are dark blue, ebooks in the green, and audiobooks. So you see I've been going through the Resizing series in audiobook format in red. Again, great for social media posts, and there's little bits of information with them, so you can see how many pages, the author, what star rating I gave them, and then in brackets, what star rating they've got on Goodreads. We can take a look at my library. So this is books that I own. So I own 96 paperbacks, 22 hardbacks, 14 ebooks, and 6 audiobooks. Again, color coded in the same way, and you can toggle these, and you have the overall. So at the moment, I own 138 books in various formats. Also lovely for sharing online. And finally, we have bookshelves. I thought this might be nice if you're ever thinking about how many bookcases do I need and could I categorize my bookcases. So I've given you an imaginary, I think 10 bookcases, 8, 9, 10, yeah. And what you can do is decide what's going to go on that bookcase. You could put all books or you could pick something in particular. So at the moment I've got, this is all my fantasy books that I own, which is almost filling up a whole bookcase. I've sort of averaged the size of a bookcase and how many books you might fit on it. Classic fantasy, I'm nowhere near filling a bookcase, unfortunately. Sci-fi is my next one. Library, books about books, I call them. Computing, romantasy, crime, quest, horror, classic horror, etc. You can just put all, and then we should hopefully deal with the overflow here. So if you tag them to all, you can see how many bookcases you might need. So it looks like at the moment I need 2, and that would fill all of my books. A bookcase does say how many you've got in it as well. So notice little numbers down here. So there's 15 on each row, and we've got, is it 6 rows I think? So 60 books per bookcase. So I've got 118 actual physical books. Remember on my library it said 138, but some of those were ebooks and audiobooks. So I think that's everything to get yourself first set up on this book spreadsheet. I hope you really like it. When you want to update it, so maybe in a month's time you've read a few more books and you want those to start being added in, all you need to do is go back to Goodreads, go back to the import and export, redo the export so you get the Microsoft Excel file. Remember to resize those columns so the Goodreads IDs are complete and not rounded. Copy it all into the import again. And what you'll find is your new books that you've just added will be at the top and they'll be colored red because they haven't yet been added to the data. All you need to do is select those few red IDs, go to your data, find the Goodreads ID, column T, go right down to the very bottom of your table and copy and paste them into here. So it'll add a few more rows to your table. You can pick up the thumbnails again. You can go through the genres, you can go through the dates you've read them, you can go through whether you own them or not. But because it's only a few books, it actually only takes a few minutes now each time. And once you've got everything in there, it should load quite quickly. So for example, if I refresh the page here, all of the thumbnails and authors should load through relatively quickly, or at least quickly enough for it to be enjoyable. You can always post it under the YouTube video. I think I'll be posting this to YouTube as well as other social media outlets. All of the formulas and script codes and bits and pieces are all visible. So if you want to try and figure out how things are working, absolutely delve into it. A lot of the formulas and scripts are developed with massive help from ChatGPT. So you could do the same. You could copy the formula into ChatGPT and say, how does this work? I want to change it to do this instead. Can you help me? ChatGPT is brilliant for this sort of thing. So I hope you enjoy this. I've decided to make it for free. If you wish to give a little bit of money, you'll find somewhere probably the buy me a coffee button around on the spreadsheet. I'll probably add that in soon, but you do not need to. I developed this for myself and just thought that other people might enjoy it, so I've made it hopefully fairly user friendly for the masses. That was my plan. Right, I think that'll do. It's probably a really long video already. Hope you'll enjoy this. That's the end.